honor for me, it's an honor for the Congressional Black Caucus, it's an honor for Congress, and it's an honor for the Congressional Black Caucus to have you to know, as your ambassadors can tell you, that our doors are always open to you. So you can get those big shot lobbyists if you feel good in having them, but you don't need any lobbyists with us. We join at the hip, we're related to each other, and we're proud to be associated with your goals and your aims and your ambitions. So God bless you. See you tonight.
It is my distinct honor to welcome each and every one of you to Brooklyn, USA. It is most fitting that the New York Conference on the Caribbean Community, a 2020 vision continued, should take place during National Caribbean Heritage Month, and that it is launched in Brooklyn, home to the largest concentration of Caribbean immigrants in the United States of America.
Because when you say Caribbean and you say Brooklyn, the words may be spelled a little differently, but it's the same. Believe me, it's the same in so many ways.
It is my distinct honor to welcome everyone to this New York Conference on the Caribbean 2008, especially our heads of government and state from CARICOM for deciding to make New York State and City the venue to hold this historic conference. I'm deeply humbled and honored to serve as the chairperson of the CARICOM Council Corps here in New York.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, members and staff of the Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I would like to formally extend to you a warm welcome to the United States, in particular Brooklyn.
Today, we, the heads of government of the Caribbean community, acknowledge your support and look forward to you continuing your work with and for the Caribbean diaspora. As I stand here on US soil in New York, I feel such a palpable Caribbean presence that I could just as easily be in any of the capitals of the 15 member states that make up our Caribbean community.
What do you expect for today's event?
Well, you know, we are going to engage in very useful discussions today. And all the discussions are designed to see how there can be a symbiosis as between the Caribbean and the United States, the city of New York or the borough of Brooklyn or wherever.
Can you give us a quick preview of what sort of things you think will be discussed today?
Well, when we leave here now, we go into an education discussion. That's the next one. Right. But then there's so many. There's tomorrow we go to the stock exchange. I will be talking, in fact, tomorrow at the stock exchange where we deal with financial issues. It's an entire range, really.
Okay.
Are you hopeful that there will be progress compared to last year?
Well, it's how you view it. It's not the kind of conference where we have come to take certain decisions, and so it's not that at all. It is an interface. It is an interaction. And as you know, it is building a relationship, particularly with the U.S. Congress. Huh?
Well, is this going to be another situation of just words, another big meeting, another big show, and nothing to come at the end of this situation?
Well, it was never designed to be a decision-making forum in the first place. It was designed to, as it were, bridge a gap and forge a nexus as between the Caribbean territories and the diaspora here in New York and the United States, and particularly the U.S. Congress. As you know, the world is changing and changing very rapidly. And the countries that are small are in a very vulnerable position as countries become associated with ever-increasing blocks. Blocks are very increasing size. The Caribbean is particularly vulnerable, and especially as we are located on the doorstep of the largest economy in the world, it's important for us to have a nexus with the U.S. authorities so we can ensure we're not left behind in the new realities that are emerging in the world.
Okay, what about smaller nations? Take a nation like Jamaica, who's a non-member.
Non-member
of CARICOM.
No, Jamaica is a
member of CARICOM currently. All right, how does that benefit countries who are directly dependent on the American economy who's failing now. What safety nets are put in place for them?
Well, yeah, Congressman Randall announced today that just yesterday in the Congress, they passed a bill that had tagged on to the extension of the Caribbean Basin legislation. Most important for the Caribbean, in circumstances where we have not yet been able to negotiate a future with the United States of America. So do not believe it is a waste of time by any means.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you very much. Every day in Brooklyn is Caribbean Day, you know that.
Okay. Well, I love your attitude. You just brightened up my day.
Well, it's true, by the way. It's and that's why I'm a proud Trini as well from Tunapuna. You're laughing, everybody knows it.
So how many times have you actually been to Trinidad?
Oh, I've been there once for sure, that's for sure. I don't fly that often. I don't want to time just. But anyway, I was there once for Carnival, and I loved it. And the truth of the matter is, wherever I walked, it was all Brooklyn anyway. Because the people that go to Carnival come from Brooklyn, back and forth. The streets of Brooklyn are empty during Carnival.
Okay. What are you hoping to accomplish in this 3-day event?
To bring home the fact that anything that the greater ties, particularly economic ties between America and the Caribbean, is good for both countries. It's good for their countries and good for our country. If it's good for the Caribbean, it's good for America.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm Risha Ramai. I'm right outside the Gracie Mansion where Mayor Bloomberg resides along with his family.
And this is the dinner for the Caribbean heads of states. And it's a great evening, and it's vintage New York City.
What does your presence mean for this conference today?
To educate our community about the two communities, how we work together. I've been working with Carib News, attending their conference for the last 11 years, going to all of the islands, talking about education, tourism, and I think it's a great day. It's a great month for Caribbeans American, who has just been such a foundation for America as well as for their own countries.
And how has the NAACP been actively involved in the Caribbean community?
We've been involved in it from the inception, because when you look at Marvel's Garvey, I mean, they all had roots in the Caribbean. So when you look at America, you can't divorce the Caribbean contribution from those of us who was born in America. And so the NAACP, along with the Caribbean community, have been a force all along.
What sort of progress have you noticed throughout the years?
Well, I mean, when you look at Shirley Chisholm, the first woman elected to Congress and ran, you know, when everybody is talking about the first, Shirley Chisholm broke grounds. She was the first, before Jesse Jackson, before Sharpton, and of course Obama. She paved the way for it. And so when you look at that and you look at the judges, you look at just ordinary Caribbeans who come to America and made such a great contribution. As we progress, you look at William Thompson, it's the controller for the state of New York. His dad was a Supreme Court judge. So you look from arts to just everyday living. The Caribbean community most certainly is there, and the progress has been made through the years, and will continue.
The collaboration between the CARICOM heads of government and with New York, what sort of significance do you think that plays in?
Well, I think it plays. I was in when Congressman Rangel and members of the Congressional Black Caucus was coming in to listen to the problems that were taking place with the sugarcane crops going away and not the agriculture that they had depended on. I think it plays a great significance, because you can have empowerment, you can trade, or we can trade in China. We most certainly can trade in the Caribbean.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Raymond Landveld, and I'm counselor to the Permanent Mission of Suriname to the United Nations. And I think that the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the University of the West Indies and Medgar Evers College is a good starting point in getting good relationships between the Caribbean and New York City. You know, let's invest in our people, and once our people are capable, then also of working together, then good must come out of that. Thank you.
I see this meeting more as a follow-up of the Conference of the Caribbean, which was organized in Washington, D.C. last year. And there were positive results. And coming to New York is, in my view, a positive step with regard to the enhancement of trade and trying to attract investment to the Caribbean, including Suriname.
It is important that we, as Caribbean countries, gather here to talk with the New York, New York politics, and see what can be done in the economical relationship between New York and the Caribbean, since a great deal of our diaspora is in New York. I think it is up till now very fruitful, and I think tomorrow when we go and see the stock exchange market and can discuss, it will be something we can explore and see how business can be done between New York and the Caribbean.
Outside the New York Stock Exchange. Yesterday was focused mostly on education, but today is day 2 of the New York Conference on the Caribbean Community. This is an unprecedented event. This conference is an unprecedented event in the history of CARICOM.
Yes, this is highly historic. This is the first time that we have had CARICOM heads coming to New York, getting an opportunity to be at the New York Stock Exchange. As you know, the New York Stock Exchange is the center of financial power. And to interface, meaning the heads, with the movers and shakers, this is great for CARICOM. This will again showcase the opportunities in CARICOM as emerging markets. And so I'm just ecstatic about this opportunity for our heads and all the delegates to be here at the New York Stock Exchange today.
We are very excited that for the first time, the 7 exchanges in the Caribbean are going to meet with the New York Stock Exchange on issues of technical support and collaboration. And for the first time, they can talk about consolidation, which has been a key issue with the Caribbean exchanges, consolidation into one, so that the rest of the world will know that the Caribbean is now open for business.
Yeah. So this is a historical event.
This is a historic event. It's the first time that the heads of the 15 nations of the Caribbean will be on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange together, and they've opened the bell tower in the middle of the day, which is not something that happens very easily, and the heads will wave down to the people on the floor. So we're excited. We're excited.
Excellencies, Mr. Leibowitz, our NYSE Euronext host, and distinguished guests, NYSE Euronext is pleased to welcome the distinguished leaders of the Caribbean community to the New York Stock Exchange for this historic occasion. We are honored by your presence as you seek to strengthen ties with the United States to boost foreign direct investment and trade for CARICOM. At this time, I will call forward the head of delegation for each member state represented today to sign the New York Stock Exchange's official guest registry before proceeding to the dais for an official photograph. Following the official photograph at the dais, Mr. Leibowitz will escort the heads of delegation to the trading floor for a second official photograph on the bell podium. We kindly ask that all others remain here in the boardroom until the heads of delegation have left the room. At that time, you will be escorted to a special viewing platform to observe the trading floor and the heads of delegation. At this time, I would ask the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda to come forward to sign the official guest registry of the New York Stock Exchange. Mr. Prime Minister.
First on the list.
the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. The Prime Minister of Belize. The Ambassador and Permanent, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Everybody look straight ahead. Right here. Straight ahead. Are you good? You are?
We had heads of government of CARICOM from 15 nations gathered together for the first time. This is a historic event. We witnessed them sign the guest registry, and they were actually on the floor. We're going to have more for you as this day continues.
Yes, good afternoon. We just want to welcome the press here and reiterate our warm welcome to the delegation of CARICOM. This has been obviously a very important gathering. It's really great to see the camaraderie and the productive discourse happening between these countries as they really solve some important problems going forward. So I want to make up their relatives at home and the development of our region.
And of course, in this context, we want to express our profound thanks and gratitude to Congressman Charles Mangle.
And I would like to know from the government side if there is any development in this matter.
The stock exchange, it is its intention to have a single stock exchange in the CARICOM, because we believe that the free movement of capital under the provisions of the CSME leads the way towards that realizing that objective. We've come to a stage now where we realize that it's only through the collaboration that comes from the sharing of not only technical experiences, but capital and the free movement of capital in the region that will enhance the process of development.
I want to welcome you on behalf of the distinguished Honorable Congressman Charles B. Rangel for an abbreviated tour of Harlem. Harlem is a very expansive community, so we'll only be able to see small parts of it. And hopefully between now and the time we get up there, the mic will be in place and you can hear us better. But if not, we'll scream as best as we can. And my name is Lloyd Williams, and I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, working closely with Honorable George Dowley and Honorable Jeff Eaton on behalf of Congressman Rangel to make sure that we give you a great time in Harlem. And my associate who you'll be hearing from is Vosa Rivers, who is the chairman of the Harlem Arts Alliance, and we'll be talking to you when we get uptown. Thank you. Harlem is a large community. Its historical background is made up of persons who are Irish, Italian, Jewish, German, Cuban, in the main. Although many people perceive Harlem as a African American community, the African roots in Harlem is really Caribbean. The residents of this particular area are a combination of student population from Columbia University and a Puerto Rican base and a Caribbean base on this side. But increasingly it's becoming more expensive, more affluent, so that the economics are starting to drive not only the residents but the color of the residents. The main street of Harlem, as many of you know, is 125th Street. This is what we've just come on. 125th Street is the only street in New York City that connects you to both highways going north or south. So it's a main thoroughfare, and much development is taking place across 125th Street. When you think of buildings, you know, be it the Apollo or the Teresa Hotel, or many of those buildings where Bill Clinton has his office, where Congressman Rangel has his office, etc. Most are along the 125th Street corridor. Every area since we came off of the West Side Highway is in the congressional district of our Congressman Charles B. Rangel.
And he find ways and means to put in some resources here.
Oh yes, well, even before Ways and Means, he was committed. These brownstones and townhouses are now going in the anywhere from $3 to $7 million, depending upon the state. 137th Street between Malcolm X and Adam Powell, which are the blocks we're between. Mother Emmy's on the oldest black church in Harlem. To your left, you'll see new construction taking place for Harlem Hospital. In the next block, it is the old Harlem Hospital. And in the same block to your right is Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, which is our stop.
To come and listen to Pastor James Forbes, it would be worth it. I just can't say that he was the first and only pastor of Riverside Church, because that would be just a small indication of the respect that he's had around our country and around the world. We call him the 44th member of the Congressional Black Caucus, because wherever we go, whatever mistakes we make, we expect that he will be bringing us out of them. He's a fantastic individual, a wonderful role model for human beings, and I'm just so happy that he's my friend, Pastor James Forbes.
Congressman Rangel, Your Excellencies, I am honored today to be here, and we may not be as much aware of it, but in 2008, we are still celebrating the 40th anniversary of the death of Dr. Martin Luther King. And in his book, he said, the spirit is that continuing community, creating reality which moves through history. We get a chance today to forget about mainline and main areas of life. All of our islands of the earth are one in the light of the Spirit. And for my invocation, I have decided to simply remind us of what the Spirit does to make us, though representing different republics, different areas, how we are one. And this is what it says. The Spirit is the key to community, where love and justice flow like streams, where the people work together for the common good to make our cities safe for dreams. The Spirit sets us free from anxiety about our neighbors far and near. When we learn to welcome strangers, greeting them as friends, no longer are we bound by fear. The Spirit sees the world as a neighborhood. The Spirit yearns for wars to cease. So the Spirit forms a circle of freedom-loving friends to claim the world for hope and peace. And it has a chorus and it says, Spirit of community, draw us close to thee. Help us see the beauty within diversity. Begin with me, my family, our neighborhoods and nation. Fulfill the dream you had in mind, the first day of creation. And if you believe that, will you say amen?
Amen. Thank you. Well, let us begin. There never will be one of your representatives that will be able to say, right, Ambassador Joseph, that it's been difficult to see the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. So if you can go right to the top, no sense wasting a whole lot of money, and save that for your next trip. As you know, we had a prolonged legislative session, and I was so embarrassed, but symbolically, as you know, when I was able to get the Haitian Hope Bill 2 into a bill, we found it difficult to find a bill, but I wanted to make certain that the investors in the Caribbean would know that it was not a temporary thing and that we wanted to extend it. We found it difficult to get a legislative vehicle, but along came the Farm Bill. I still don't know the connection, but when you're chairman, you don't have to figure it out. You know, you just put it in there, and it passed, and the president vetoed it. And so we were fortunate that your first present that you got from the United States Congress was that the House and the Senate overrode the president's veto, and so we don't have to worry about CBI, except, that we find when it comes to the issues that are most important, that people are talking about the economy and forgetting the hundreds and thousands of lives that have been lost in that area, plus the 4,000 American lives, men and women, that have been lost. In addition, the tens of thousands of lives and bodies that have been shattered but still live, that we will have a responsibility, a moral responsibility, to try to explain to their families, as we see that most all of these young people come from community of the highest unemployment and where the least amount of opportunity is there. And as much as I wanted to make certain that I would be with you because of our commitment to each other, because of protocol, and because of the historic nature of your visit, I could not have slept at night if I had known that I had an opportunity to vote against this immoral war. And I was not there voting against it. So I hope that you will forgive my absence, because right in connection with that, the very next vote was my bill, was extended the unemployment compensation, which explains what it is for those people who've been without work.
and lost their jobs through no fault of their own, was able to negotiate with the White House and with the Republicans an extension of those benefits for 13 weeks. And had I not been there, my absence would have been known, and I wanted to be there for that. So on the block here, what we say to the boys on the block is that I owe you one for not being here for that. But it's going to be an exciting relationship. We've always had it. It's just that we have to improve it. We've taken a lot for granted with each other, but we have to take advantage of where we find ourselves. And I think from a political point of view, the heads of state would know that in the United States Congress you couldn't have a better set of friends. And that next year we would say in the United States of America that you won't have a better set of political friends. So there are a lot that has to be done.
Our sincere appreciation, because this conference really grew out of this initial invitation that was extended by the congressmen, the heads of government from CARICOM and heads of state to visit New York. So Congressman, I want to thank you very much for your support. The Caribbean has known no greater friend. You've always been there, and of course, because of you, this conference came about. And I believe that if we have such an office there in New York, that it would help to advance that process or the processes of integration. So I do hope that the heads of government and heads of state will certainly consider having this office. And I'm going to ask the congressman to consider having this office if it comes to fruition in Harlem. Yeah. Perhaps at the Adam Clayton Powell State Building. That would be a good thing for us, right?
My name is Janice Chisholm, and these are my children. A talented group: Joelle, Sanaj, Sajari. Joelle, age 16, Sanaj, age 11, and Sajari just turned 7. Their group is entitled Joe Sanjari, and if you listen to their names, you'll understand why. They are studying classical music. Each of them has been studying for a number of years now. They're currently in the pre-college division of the Manhattan School of Music, where they study classical, theory, ear training, and a whole slew of musically oriented programs. They're home trained, and we'd like to play some selections for you. Hope you enjoy.
particularly important to Congressman Rangel because he was unable, as a result of very important votes on the floor of the House on Thursday night and yesterday, to be here. And this is something he'd planned very much for over the last few months, and he was very upset. So he scheduled this breakfast. He asked us to put it together on very short notice, and he's so pleased now he has a chance to participate himself. What was really good about yesterday was that we had very concrete commitments made at meetings with investment bankers at Goldman Sachs and also at the New York Stock Exchange.
I am Clarence Cooper, the manager of the restaurant, and I have been here for a little period of about 20 years. And we, as a restaurant business, are happy to serve people from all over the world. And we are especially pleased and happy to serve CARICOM from the Caribbean. I believe this is their first meeting here and first time at Sylvia's. So it's a special occasion for us. It's history making.
Well, first of all, the conference served to sensitize the community here of businessmen and political leaders of the need for closer collaboration with the Caribbean. And we focus on investments and the need for the financial community of New York to look at providing funding for infrastructural development. We also discussed other issues relating to, of course, the CBI extension, but we also indicated that whilst we are very happy and grateful to Congressman Rangel for having fought so hard to get the extension, we think that it needs to be expanded, and so we need to enter into negotiations for a new trade agreement that will be more lengthy and that will be more broad-based in terms of the items that are included, as well as the inclusion of services and the expansion into the other countries of the region, of the CARICOM community, instead of the 7 or 8 that are now participating. All in all, I thought it was very constructive. We also met with the Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, and we sensitized them to the need to work collaboratively with us to assist us in technical assistance by way of the introduction of techniques and technology that can help us to create a central stock exchange for CARICOM. All in all, in addition to meeting with the diaspora and of course the exposure to Harlem and the cultural renewal and reinforcement, it was a tremendous experience.
I think it was the most successful conference. I believe we need to now take it another notch, and that means concretizing what we discussed. There are a lot of discussions, a lot of promise, a lot of hope, and I think we're leaving here with great anticipation, great expectation. What has to happen is for some form of consolidation, some form of structures. The CARICOM now needs to place on its agenda the whole question of the forward march, the forward movement, and how we're going to integrate that into the whole spirit of CARICOM, along with ensuring that here in the U.S. that we put in place the mechanisms and the structures, the systems that will allow us to continue this sort of collaboration and to allow it to bear fruit for the region and for African American and Caribbean American people in these parts. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us. And as Prime Ministers, we now need to demonstrate our commitment with action.
What do you think needs to be done to make sure that the relationship is strengthened between CARICOM and the U.S.?
What has to happen at the CARICOM level, we need to put within the structure of CARICOM either a desk or a department that focuses on Caribbean American relations. In the U.S., we also need to ensure that that kind of institutional arrangement is set up at the highest level possible so that it has some value and some authority to bring about the results that we're looking at. Then within and among the diaspora, we need as individual nations and as CARICOM to inject into the structures of our overseas missions the human capacity that will be able to sustain and maintain that relationship and institutionalize the arrangement to the extent that we need it to be institutionalized to bring about those results. So there's a lot of work to be done, and it's all about commitment, it's all about driving the process and putting in place solid structures that will bring about the results that we're looking for.
It was just absolutely wonderful, and the Prime Ministers and President all had a great time eating at Sylvia and enjoying the food. But I think what is significant about being here, food is great, it's the connection that is now being made with African Americans, the whole question of, in fact, Inez Dickens says the unity that we need, and so it's a real great coming together that has significance for long term. And so I think we need to be cognizant of that and make sure that as we go forward, that this great start, this momentum is carried forward, and that we in the diaspora who are here make sure we keep it going, you know, with Congressman Rangel and the folks who have been so helpful, that the region can then benefit significantly from it. So I think it's a great start.